Gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see this too. When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. When you want to get off the darkest ground, gravity pulls you straight down. Clear Fill me out with your smile. Now the sunshine brings the light. Fill me out with a flame. I will let you in this game. Take me out where I'm down. 'Cause with you I'm safe and sound. 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 Take me out where I'm down. 'Cause with you I'm safe and sound. 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 Safe and sound.
What is going on, everybody? Big Dog Brett, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Glad you guys can make it tonight. I apologize. The last I wasn't able to be on last night like I normally was. Had something come up I had to go take care of, but we're on now. So here we are. So how's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully everybody's doing well. A lot to talk about, a lot to cover. There is so much that's going on right now. We'll we'll get into a little bit of all of it. So let's go ahead and jump into the kind of what Bryant Denny's talking about here. Brian Denny say, well, let's see who we got in the channel first. We got Luke Joels, Dwayne RDR, Bartholomew, Bob, Yao, See You in the Valley, Bruce Hucks, and Bryant Denny, Border Bob. What's going on, buddy? And Jason Ray. I appreciate you guys jumping on some of the first in the stream here tonight. That's great. We're going to go probably about 45 minutes, and then I've got some other stuff to tackle. It's been a long past couple of days. My day started this morning at about 4 a.m., and I walked in the door about 10 minutes ago. I had originally planned to start the show at 9 o'clock, but it just didn't work out that way. So Brandon, he says, I hear some of the fans that call for Saban to be fired embarrasses our fan base. I'm absolutely okay with firing our DC. I'm okay with being left out this year. Next year will be I'm not reading that out loud. I would have to say that in my opinion, I think that the defense has kind of tapered off since Kirby Smart left. I think anybody that's kind of watched the two teams, you can see that that's kind of been the way it is. Lee Taylor, I live about 30 minutes north of Atlanta, but I go to Atlanta almost on a daily basis. Christmas is overrated, all for kids, but I do the same, and that's not fair. Pete Golding needs to be fired. The defensive coordinator. There's a lot of talent on that Alabama roster, and it's a little concerning to see that fan base is having some issues with the defensive coordinator. The defense should be pretty stout. I don't know why it's not. There shouldn't be that much of a dramatic drop off that fast. What's going on, Dennis? How's it going, buddy? Hey, Jay. How's it going, man? All right, let's not be too rowdy tonight. Yeah, it's going to be a huge game here in Atlanta. Unfortunately, I don't have enough funds to garner even the cheapest of seats there. The cheapest of the seats was $537. Please watch Uncle Lou's stream that just finished after you finish. It's the greatest thing in streaming history. What are you talking about, Alex? Hey, big dog, if you beat LSU, you get your wish and you get to play the Tigers. Hey, man, I'm okay with that. I think you guys are on the schedule the next couple of years anyway. I sort of agree with that statement. The only reason why is because of 2016, 2017, we had a great defense. 18 was okay, but this year wasn't the greatest. Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Lee Taylor's like, I would go fishing with Jake Fromm. No lie. I would go fishing with pretty much anybody that would take me, honestly. Yeah, watching it on TV, a game like that, it would be amazing to be there and win. But there's a lot to be said for being able to just sit at home and watch something on television and be able to watch the instant replay, because that's one of the things you really lose. Is when you're watching a game, you lose. When you're watching it at the stadium, you lose the ability of the instant replay and all the extra commentary that you hear. What's going on with the instant replay review and all that stuff. You just kind of get it played a couple of times on the scoreboard, and during the commercial break, they don't really replay it. So you kind of sit there, and there's times when something will happen and you will be completely lost. You won't know what happened at all. And that's one of the downsides to going to a game. Granted, it's a small downside. The rest of it is all about the environment, but it's a blast to go to the games. But there's definitely a benefit to being able to sit at home and watch it. Bryson Kearney, I'm going to do a hype and hate video and prediction video, and you'll get my score prediction then, sir. You really think so? Bartholomew, Gump's defense built Kirby tough. Some Miami fan had a stream going trash talking Lou, and Lou started his own stream and buried him. Yeah, that's a bad idea, man. Listen, even if I didn't like Lou, I have enough common sense not to try and troll that guy. He's been fighting trolls for years, and he has a loyal fan base. And if you wade in there with with Uncle Lou, you better be prepared to deal with all those guys. He's very good at what he does. Saf Adams. I apologize if I don't say your name correct, sir and or ma'am. How are you doing? Uh, Bruce says Law Tide wants to know it's coming back. I don't know. I don't know. It's Thursday. Here, I'll update it right now on the fly. There you go. I apologize. I had a long day yesterday and a long day today, and I just walked in the door about 10 minutes after 9. So I basically had to walk inside, say hello to my wife, and then run downstairs and have my son help me grab my gear and get it up and running. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to get stuff set up. That's why you're only going to see one view tonight, because I'll go ahead and show you the other view. I didn't even have time to change this from the updated rankings. This is still from November 26th, so I didn't even have time to do that. What's up, Mr. Bombi? He's just standing here watching me drudge on with my content, I guess. I don't know if Uncle Lou is from Augusta, but I know he lives in Augusta. Next year in Tuscaloosa, it'll be Georgia peanut butter and jelly versus Alabama Dreamland barbecue ribs. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Uncle Lou is from Evans, Georgia, actually. Yeah, I think that is correct. Tyler Love says, let's go Dogs. That's right, buddy. Let's go Dogs. Law Tide is in Obitz. I've never even heard of that place, sir. Next year talk from those watching from home Saturday. Next year talk from the... I don't know what that means, JT. You have to reword that, man. I'm not smart enough to figure that one out. You live an hour south of Augusta. Was that around Statesboro? Hope Uncle Lou is working on his best Manny Diaz impression. Oh, so one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is it looks like Mike Bobo might be interested in coming back to UGA. Now, a lot of people there's a lot of people out there that don't want Mike Bobo back. And I tend to believe that those people, the UGA fans that don't want Mike Bobo back, really don't know a whole lot about him. They just say, oh, whatever. I really hope Mike Bobo is coming home. That he averaged 40 points a game. When Mike Bobo was the head coach, when Mike Bobo was the offensive coordinator, the problem wasn't with the offense. The problem was with the defense. Clearly, we seem to have some good coaching and some good players on the defense. I think what we really need is an offensive-minded head coach. Mike Bobo is a personality, though. He's one of those people, volumes in and out. Is that better? Am I leaning too close to the mic or something? Oh, I mean, it may be because it was probably because I was leaning back and forth, and that's what was messing it up. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know, though. So Mike Bobo, averaging 40 points a game. If we had that right now, we would clearly have we'd have the number 1 or number 2 spot for sure. My concern for this week is UGA is that ESPN just reported that Robert Boucher Jr. will be in the lineup for LSU. I don't even know. I don't even know who that guy is, man. I haven't done enough studying on that. My live stream health says that it's fine. RB, I don't know if it's me or you, sir. South Carolina fires Muschamp. He will come to Georgia as the assistant coach because him and Kirby were roommates. That is absolutely not true. That will not happen. Coley cancer. That's messed up, Bruce. Go Dogs beat LSU. The water boy, son. My mama says that them Tide fans are mad because they got all them trophies and no playoff appearance this year. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about lack of wide receivers for UGA coming into this game? Muschamp been working for UGA for years. That's right, Killer Mom. That's right. Farmer Fran, as LSU says. That's Bobby Boucher, mama. My mama says that foosball is for the devil. The devil is foosball. Yes. So there is. Hey, what's going on, Keith? Welcome back to the channel, sir. Always glad to see you in here. Give us time to polish our rings. That's right. You got plenty of time to polish them rings. The guys will be going to. Have they predicted what bowl game you guys are going to yet, Dwayne? I haven't even looked into it, man. Saf, I don't really have a problem with UGA's wide receivers right now. Dominic Blaylock's been coming on strong. Demetrius Robertson, in my opinion, has been an underutilized asset. James Cook has good hands. He can catch. DeAndre Swift can catch. We have two tight ends that have proven time and time again they can catch. Georgia's offense, when it tends to get into the later season, our offense tends to kick in high gear. So I'm not particularly worried about it right now. Now, I may change my mind halfway through the first quarter, but or halfway through the second quarter, but that is yet to be seen. If you go back and you look at our games, it's been creating points in the fourth quarter. That's been a hey, what's up, Soul Brother? Check him out now, Funk Soul Brother. Right now. LSU wants to put the voodoo curse on Georgia. I'm not worried about it, man. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. I think he had to do a pretty good bit in the Rose Bowl game, but I think that this one, if you're saying that you think that this will be the game that he will be mostly responsible for, I think that's accurate. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Yes, sir. So anyway, Jake Fromm has to have a good game. If Jake Fromm doesn't have a good game, it's gonna be bad. Hopefully there has been a lot of emphasis put on the offense for this game because this is every game from here on out is a must-win game. So this is definitely a must-win game for us. It's not a must-win game for LSU, so that leads me to believe that there's going to be a little more favoritism for Georgia to go out and win this game. We kind of saw that same thing happen to Georgia whenever they played Auburn a couple of years ago, where we played Auburn in the regular season, lost that game. It was not a must-win game for us. We get to the SEC championship, it's a must-win game for us. We obviously won that game. So I think that there's a lot that goes on from there. Soul Brother says, what do you think about Fromm? If he has 175 passing, no turnovers, we might win. I think that entirely depends on whether that 175, how it's gained. If most of those yards come on third down passing, then yes, we win that game. If most of those yards come on first down passing, I'm not sure what's going to happen. If Jake Fromm can throw for 225 yards, we win that game. I mean, we win that game. Simple as that. Ole Miss was it Ole Miss or Mississippi State or somebody was able to put up like 7,000 yards or something against LSU. And I think that Georgia's definitely looked at those games as a way to exploit that defense, and we may be able to push through and find a way to win that way. SEC Dawg says, we're going to have to score versus LSU. I hope we caught a I hope he caught a 15-pound bass this weekend. Possibly. Bruce is saying first offensive play, Swift up the middle, loss of 2, fire Coley right in the end. I don't think I'd be opposed to that. But I would also say that you probably need to slap Kirby with a belt. That belt that you're keeping him on the sideline with, you need to pull him back with that belt, and then you need to hand him insults and profanity. No, I did not see Uncle Lou destroy that Miami guy. I was driving, and typically state troopers frown upon watching YouTube and driving down the interstate, so I try not to do that. UGA runs the ball all game, true story. That is a possibility. I would not be surprised if you see Georgia come out and try to use the passing game to open up the running game. I think that putting DeAndre Swift in the game is probably going to be a necessity. but it's also going to be questionable as to how long you can lean on that. He's already injured. Guys don't heal up from bruises, especially ones like that, for a week. Kirby Smart come out and admitted this week that he's been playing kind of banged up all year, which might be the reason why you've seen, I won't say lack of performance, but maybe not some of the explosiveness. So, Patrick Harvard, how's it going, buddy? He says, SEC Dog says Fromm would outfish Burrow even at Louisiana. Baton Rouge smells like corn dogs. I've been to Baton Rouge. I'm not sure it smells like corn dogs. Yeah. Keith says we need to play James Cook in the slot. Been waiting to see that all year. We've put him in a slot a couple of times. I think the problem is that Jake Fromm's not going through his progressions enough to actually see him. I appreciate that, Chase. Thank you, sir. If Georgia loses to LSU, does that mean that Utah gets in the playoffs? I don't know. Chase, all of the YouTube channel filters are set up to anytime you throw something in there like that, it's going to catch it and it's going to wait for me to approve it. My moderators know not to approve any chat. I'm the one that approves the chat. They kind of handle all the other stuff. But yeah, if you will reword that or spell it differently, it may make it through the filter, Chase. Fromm will throw the game away. I don't know. With him being as good of a game manager, I don't think that's going to be the problem. It doesn't matter who's winning because Ohio State's going to win it all. Do I eat Cajun food? Yes, I eat Cajun food. I lived in Louisiana for a brief amount of time. But yes, Cajun food is delicious. I especially like blackened chicken pasta Alfredo, if you want to call that Cajun food. But it's delicious. Corn dogs are good for teenagers. That means I don't have to cook. Soul Brother says, do you think the offense coordinator play calls or execution of the players, we are so flat it's killing me? So it caught it again, Chase. Use some of the special characters to help you spell your words, sir. Soul said, he says that the offense is flat. And I kind of mentioned this on one of my other streams. If you go back and you look, there's plays, if you can get I think they call them the sky cam or something, where you're actually looking like up and down the field like you would if you were playing Madden or something. And if you watch those views, you can see that Jake Fromm will throw the ball to where he's supposed to throw the ball to, but the receivers won't finish running the route. And then they try to speed up to catch up to the ball, and so the ball ends up going past them. It looks like that Jake Fromm's overthrowing them when really it's the receivers not running the route properly. And it's not that way every time, but it's enough that it makes a problem. So look at it this way. If you have a game where Jake Fromm's throwing, let's just say 16 for 24, right? It's not a great percentage, right? It's a little over probably 60%. Well, if two to three of those are drops because the receiver screws up on the route, now suddenly you go from 16 catches to 19 for 24, and that's a dramatic difference. So it absolutely matters that they got to get that timing lined up. I think LSU is going to have a hard time holding on to Joe Brady. Maybe UGA gets after him for OC. That may be possible, and if he does, that'd be awesome. Tonight's been hilarious. It's kind of like when we had Matt Stafford. What do you mean, Patrick? Are you talking about how we had troubles with the receivers? Well, we've had trouble with the receivers, over the past couple of years. That's why we've made comments. I've made so many comments about us needing to fill the receiving core. We should have had receivers in backing up Mecole and basically if J.J. Holloman could figure out how to keep his hands to himself, we might not even be in this situation, but who knows? Yeah. Nick Saban mad as hell right now about being ranked 12th. I doubt it. That man's got so much money, I doubt he really cares. He's going to act like he does, but you don't really care. So you got to keep your distance when watching them walk out, though. If you're in the way, they'll go into a rage and you won't make it out alive. I don't know what you're talking about, Bryant. I must have missed part of the contest, or part of the conversation, sorry. He didn't overthrow, but he sometimes looked as if he did. Yeah, Matt Stafford. I'll tell you who did overthrow people. Jacob Eason. My God, that guy could overthrow a rocket. And I mean, these guys would be on go routes and just running as fast as they could from the time the ball was snapped. He's still overthrown by 10 yards. Grayson Lambert would do it every now and then. The College Football Committee is trying to put 2 SEC teams in the playoffs. So if UGA wins, LSU and UGA will make it into the playoffs. If I don't even know how to handle that. I think Trey Blount not turning into a threat really set us back at the wide receiver during that cycle. I agree. Matt Landers has not been as near as productive as I would have liked for him to have been. We have done a pretty good job of spreading the ball around, but it seems like there's something missing, that cohesion. I actually think that Jake Fromm has better cohesion with the tight ends than he does with the wide receivers. Bryant Denny says, I'm talking about if you go to Baton Rouge and watch the liquored up bums walk out drunk and pissed when we beat them. Hey, bro, is Jake Fromm leaving after this season? If he keeps playing like he's playing, no. Because his NFL stock could only improve in his senior year by him having a good year in his senior year. I think it's possible that if we win the national championship and it's because of Jake Fromm, then he'll probably go pro. If he balls out in the next 3 games or next 2 games or whatever you want, however it works out, if he just balls out, they're going to say, hey, this kid plays really well under pressure. Hey, what's up, VT Dub? Unfortunately, if he doesn't, I think he'll be back, and I think that's going to be a problem. And not all of it's Jake Fromm's fault. I mean, that his numbers are where they're at. I think it's an OC problem. And I think that Georgia desperately needs to pull the same move that LSU did and get somebody in here to train this quarterback and train these players the way they professionally need to be trained. There could be agents whispering in his ear, and I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't. But at the end of the day, he's got to look at and assess. So his on-field performance is his product. And as a quarterback, he has to produce a much better resume than probably any other position. Whenever he goes out there and plays football, if he's not performing at his peak ability, he's going to get stuck in the same category as every 7th or 8th round pick. He's going to go to some NFL team. He's going to play on the practice squad for 3 or 4 years. He's never going to progress past that stage. He's going to get transferred to another team. He's going to fail to make that. He's going to fail to win that job there, and then he's going to be out of a job. And then he's going to be trying to get a job on ESPN as a talk show host analysis, and he'll do that for a little bit, and then he'll disappear. And he'll show up to do commentary or an interview on big games here and there. I mean, that's just the way that goes. Jimmy Watkins says, go Tigers, wishful thinking, but you know what's coming Saturday. Yeah, them Dogs is going to handle that business. Tua is the second coming of RG3. If Tua can stay healthy, I don't know if they're going to have to cut his legs off and turn him into RoboCop from the waist down. But if that guy can get healthy, he's an incredible asset. Well, Dwayne, you may have walked away with the win, but it was one of those fights where it was so close that it was hard to tell if it hadn't been score on the board. Can't wait to see my halftime video. Hey, I'll be here. Good, win, lose, or draw, man. I'm a Dogs fan. I mean, what's up, T Mills? And I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, if the Dogs go out there and they lose a game, don't expect me to hang my head and cry. Don't, because I'm not going to. And I'm not saying that we're going to win or we're going to lose. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Dogs are going to win. I'm always going to say that. I expect them to win every game, even when we're a huge underdog. I mean, if you told me we had to play LSU and Ohio State at the same time, I'd still say we were going to win. I mean, that's just the kind of fan I am. But what's up, Nick Turner? One of the things that I look at throws the ball like a pitcher. I haven't really studied his throwing mechanics, but he seems like he throws off his back foot a lot. Pitchers tend to, when people throw with a baseball, they tend to transition at the waist a little better. Am I going to break another TV? No, not at all. Here's the thing. Losing to South Carolina was infuriating because that was a team we should have absolutely demolished. Stepping out onto the field as a number 4 ranked team, playing a number 2 ranked team, if we lose that game, it's the number 2 ranked team in the country. They're a real football team. I don't consider South Carolina to be that good of a football team. So yeah, I'm going to be pissed when we lose to somebody we shouldn't lose to. I mean, that's like somebody pitching an underhanded pitch to a professional home run hitter in Major League Baseball and him striking out, versus getting up there and pitching against Nolan Ryan. Yeah, you might strike out. It's freaking Nolan Ryan. So yeah, I mean, it's just the way to go. I mean, there are times that it's hard to be a Dogs fan, but here's the thing. So the Dogs have been in the college football playoff, at least in the talk. We've been ranked in it last 3 years. We've had 3 11-win seasons in a row. 68% of the players we have on our team are true freshmen. We've got a lot of stuff coming back. So I mean, we've got a lot to look forward to. I think we've won the East 3 years in a row. I mean, you can't complain about the state of the program. It's going to happen. It's there. We're going to win a national championship. All the pieces are falling into place. Whenever Kirby Smart took over, I expected 3 or 4 years. It's better to be a Dogs fan than probably 99% of the other NCAA football programs. I would say that the fan bases that would be comparable to UGA's, in just my opinion, is Alabama. I don't consider Clemson to be that good because I don't feel like they've had that good of a program for that long. Ohio State has been extremely hit or miss. Michigan's been extremely hit or miss. Florida's been a dumpster fire here until recently. Pretty much every team in the SEC, with the exception of Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, and LSU, have been just terrible. I mean, Arkansas is so far out of football, they had to teach them the rules again. I mean, those guys struggle. What are you talking about, Bryant Denny? Listen, every team goes through bad spots. The biggest problem that Georgia had for so long was that Mark Richt was a good coach, but he wasn't a great coach. And our teams, no matter how much talent we had, would get out coached. Now, Georgia has been razor close to that wire many times to winning it. I think it was, golly, what year was it that Georgia played Alabama for the SEC championship, and we caught the ball on like the 4 or 5 yard line, and we should have dropped it. Aaron Murray was on the 9 yard line knocking at the door. Our red zone percentage was in the high 80s. You give that guy another throw at the end zone, 99% of the time he makes it. We lose at the last second to Alabama. Alabama goes on to play Notre Dame for the national championship and absolutely mollywops them. And that's exactly what Georgia would have done. Razor thin close. Yeah, 2012. So, I mean, yeah. If Georgia wins, what do you think the committee will rank them? 3. It will go, I think it'll be 3 because of the one loss. I think that they're going to value the undefeated Clemson over Georgia's one loss, even though our win will be one of the best in the country. You'll have, it will go Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, and then LSU. No, Notre Dame has no business being in any of these games, and I've said that. I don't understand how in the world that they are not forced to join a conference. UGA gets in if LSU loses to UGA. I don't think so, Nicholas. I really don't. Just because if you look at LSU's resume, their resume is far better, even with the one loss to which at that point would be the number 3 ranked team in the country, would be better than all the wins that Utah has. Because I don't think they've even played a ranked team. Hey, what's going on, Sarah? Well, they don't want to be in the ACC. They tried to get into Big 10 or Big 12 years ago, a couple of times. Man, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, they tried to get in, and then the Big Ten, I think it was the Big Ten. The Big Ten is like, well, you're gonna have to play all the other. Yeah, that's what it was. It was the Big Ten, and the Big Ten committee told them was like, you're gonna have to play every other Big Ten team just like we all do, and they didn't want to do that. So they told them basically to either do what we do or you can't join. And so Notre Dame got all ticked off, and they was like, well, we're not going to join. And they said, fine. Well, then Notre Dame come back, and it was like, okay, yeah, we'll play everybody else. And the Big Ten was like, no, you had your chance. Yeah, we don't want you. You suck. Husker Gray, talk about a guy that's got some pain tolerance. Good Lord, sir. Derek Stevens, answer me this question. What conference has the most bowl game wins? What conference has the most national championships? What conference has the highest amount of winning records? I think you already know the answer to that, sir. See, Georgia can't play, and SEC teams can't play round robin. They can't play round robin because there's too many teams. We would run out of weeks before we got through them all. but y'all lost to South Carolina, and Clemson nearly lost to North Carolina. Mac Brown went for 2 when he very easily could have just kicked the PAT, and it's highly likely they could have won that game. So think about that. If Mac Brown doesn't go for 2, and he wins that game, then all of a sudden we have a completely different conversation. Yeah, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. That's according to Sarah. Listen and obey Sarah. If you think Utah could jump LSU for the number 4 if UGA beats the brakes off of LSU and Utah beats Oregon convincingly. So you think that's possible? I don't know, man. Auburn, Alabama, LSU, and UGA would run through almost everyone. That is correct. Nicholas Turner, you don't have your facts on straight, sir. That is not the case. If you take Alabama out of the mix, and that's why I make that argument, is because people don't believe me. If you take Alabama out of the mix, the SEC still has more bowl wins than the other conferences. That's just how dominant the SEC is. More players every year from the NFL are taken out of the SEC. More players in the SEC are scouted and recruited to the NFL. And those guys pay big money. It's about the dollars. So you can see that there is some highly skilled players in the SEC. If UGA wins the SEC, I believe they could play LSU for the Natty. It all depends. It all comes down to what the playoff committee feels. And so this year is a prime example as to why we needed a college football playoff, because you have an undefeated Clemson, you have an undefeated Ohio State, you have an undefeated LSU, and it's possible that they could still be undefeated. And so you would have a Big 10 team, or excuse me, a Big 12 team that's just kicking out of everybody they play, and they're undefeated. And then you've got an undefeated Clemson, who's last year's national championship team. Then you got an LSU team who's beaten everybody they've played, and Alabama. They went through the SEC West. and they're going to have to play the number 4 ranked team in the country, and they could potentially be undefeated then. So then you'd be sitting at 3 teams undefeated. One's a former national champ. One is probably the most prolific football team of this year, and the third team is a team that is beating one of the team that has the most national championships in college football history. I mean, in the past 20 years or whatever it is. So you can't. You would have to pick. Think about that. If the college football playoff didn't exist right now, the conversation would be Georgia. There's no way Georgia would be in the mix because they have a loss, so they'd be out immediately. So then you've got to choose between Clemson, LSU, and Ohio State. If you have to pick between Clemson, LSU, and Ohio State, what 2 teams do you play for the national championship? And you can't make it. You can't make me believe that wouldn't start all kind of controversy. This is a prime example as to why we needed a college football playoff. I agree with you, Keith. Unfortunately, I do think it's Ohio State's year. They are just killing everybody. I mean, I've even went so far as to think that if UGA was playing Ohio State out, it would. In my opinion, the only way anybody's going to beat Ohio State, in my opinion, is Ohio State is just going to have to fall apart. They're going to have to beat themselves. That's the only way I see anybody beating them. See, the problem, Bryant Denny, is that I personally have a problem about getting into a national championship or getting into a college football playoff and not winning your division. And I mean, yeah, and that's not a stab at Alabama. That's a stab at anybody. You don't win your college football playoff, you shouldn't be in. I mean, if you can't win your own division, how can you possibly say that you're the national champion? It doesn't even compute. So you just found out that Ohio State has a losing bowl record. Did you really go look that up, CU? Washington Nationals. Leon Marsh says, do I share the popular opinion that Clemson can beat all the top teams? I see the talent level, but by whom they've played, how can they really tell? I see Ohio State as the most likely champ. If you had to waterboard me right now and tell me to pick a team to win the national championship that's not Georgia, I'm going to pick Ohio State every time. That team has been dominant. Nobody's come close to exposing them. They haven't even played anybody close. Georgia's lost a game, played several games close. They have a phenomenal defense, but they're not the most well-rounded team. If you look at LSU, I won't say got exposed by Alabama. They didn't get exposed by Auburn, but they certainly had their hands full. So they've, in a way, been exposed. Clemson, when they played, they almost lost to North Carolina State, a team that's probably not going to be ranked for the next 3 or 4 years. And they nearly lost that game, and it come down to somebody going for 2. So I can't say that they're even close to being the best team. Ohio State, Justin Fields in Ohio State has been breaking school records all year. So he's thrown for more touchdowns this year than I think Jake Fromm has thrown just about the entire time he's been here. So, I mean, obviously that's an exaggeration, but you get my point. Lee Taylor, having a dual threat quarterback has to fit whatever your offensive play scheme is. If you don't have an offensive play scheme that's conducive to a dual threat quarterback, you're wasting your time. You'd have to change your entire offense to match that quarterback. Most programs are not willing to do that. The reason that Justin Fields went to Ohio State was because the play scheme they had there matched the same play scheme that he ran in high school. That's why. What are you talking about, CU? Oh, you're talking to SEC, Dog. I thought I said Big Dog. My mistake. Jimmy Watkins, you were up 23-13 and had the ball in the red zone multiple times. That was a get out of here game. Come on, we were never in jeopardy to lose to Auburn. The final score dictates different, sir. When the final score is 23-20, you're in jeopardy of losing that game. If you don't believe me, go watch the onside kick that Georgia Tech recovered against Georgia. that just proves that it can happen. Even a grossly outmatched, out-talented team can get ball possession. If Auburn was able to get the ball possession, they could have won that game. Yeah, Ohio State has played some teams this year. They've played some ranked teams, and not only have they played ranked teams, they have beat the hell out of them. Fields is a simple 1 or 2 read offense. Georgia has a pro-style offense. You can't look at the final score, bro. You can't look at the final score, bro. How did it get there? Yeah, you can look at the final score. That's how you determine who wins. How come every time Georgia plays a team, somebody thinks that I'm scared? I don't understand that. I really don't. LSU 43, Georgia 24. Sons of Edelweiss. Sir, what makes you think any offense could hang 43 points on the #1 defense in the nation? The 2 minutes at the end of the game, sir, is just as important as the 2 minutes that any other score was made. That's why those 2 minutes are there. It's part of the game. Jordan Reaction says LSU is going to destroy you. I'm trying to figure out why you're saying that, sir. When they've played teams with defense, they've struggled. My voice is cracking. Okay, whatever makes you feel better, man. Now, let me crack my voice a little bit for you, Derek. I'm so scared. So, UGA was an underdog against who? It won't be 41. LSU won't score 38 points. Nobody this season has scored more than 2 touchdowns against UGA. So let me throw some interesting numbers on you guys, right? Because obviously you guys are grossly underestimating UGA's defense. Let me provide. Class is now in session. The best defense that Georgia has ever had, and Georgia's had some stellar defenses, was around about 2004. In 2004, Georgia's team during a regular season allowed only 190, I think it was 194. It might have been 192, but it was right there. That's the best defense in the history of Georgia until this year. This year, it's 125 points in an entire season. That's only 66% of the points allowed of our best season ever. And that is also without Roquan Smith. So think about that. This defense is better by far than the defense that we had when Roquan Smith was playing football for UGA. And by the way, he's playing like a madman for the Chicago Bears. Jordan Reaction. Sir, if you think that I'm concerned that you're going to come back to the channel and say, I told you so, well, join the crowd. There's going to be 1,000 people that do that. It ain't going to bother me. But what's going to happen if Georgia wins this game is that 99% of these people that's in here now are going to disappear. They're not going to show up. They're going to be gone. But if LSU wins, oh, here they come. They can't wait to tell you. And see that, and that's one of the funny things about doing this is that people are going to absolutely just disappear. It happens every time. Texas beat Oklahoma. There was like 3 guys that showed back up and had their humble pie. Whenever Georgia beat Auburn for the SEC championship, there was like 3 guys that showed up and said hi. We'll see, Jimmy. We'll see. I've heard that before too, man. I've heard that before too. I'm watching a game at my house, T Mills, and I'm actually going to be doing a family get together. Sons of Edelweiss says, "I will not disappear." Yeah, okay. We'll see. We'll see. That's why they wear yellow. That's messed up, man. I'm gonna use that in my video there. Same thing when UGA loses, people won't be on here. You'd be surprised, man. A lot of Georgia fans show back up. All right, Keith, man, you have a good night. I'm fixing to jump off here in just a minute. So, do I think Swift was hurt or was he in his feelings because of the fumbles? I think he was actually hurt. He's got such a big heart. It's crazy. Lorenzo Carter's good in the NFL. You're absolutely correct. Lee Taylor's not a bandwagon fan. There's a lot of good fans from other teams in here, man. But at the end of the day, yeah, people jump on here. Your team's gonna lose. I hear that every week, man. I hear that every week. You think you can beat LSU, but you can't even beat South Carolina. Do you think that Georgia losing to South Carolina changes any player we have on the field at any given moment when we play you? How about this? Think about this for a second. Georgia, even losing a game, has a higher ranked defense than LSU. What does that tell you about LSU? Jake Fromm threw a pick six, and they got a couple of field goals. Their offense only scored one touchdown. UGA beats them 99 out of 100 times. We had 4 turnovers in that game, and it was still tied at the end of the game. How good does a defense have to be? Think about it. How good does a defense have to be to commit 4 turnovers? I mean, lose the turnover margin by 4 and still be tied at the end of the game under 18 points. Have a good night, T-Mills. I'd be willing to bet it don't happen very often. LSU versus Texas A&M, 50-7. Okay, Georgia versus Georgia Tech, 52-7. That's better than LSU. What's your point? Thanks, soul brother. Felipe Franks is a terrible quarterback. He is. He should never play for Florida again. They should let Kyle Trask have the helm. I'll bet you money right now that Felipe Franks either transfers or goes to the NFL draft. LSU scores quick and fast, and defense always gets comfortable, but that's not going to be the case on Saturday. You're right. They're not going to score quick and fast, and the defense is going to be very uncomfortable. You actually said something that made sense, sir. Have a good night, Sons of Edelweiss. Y'all play Texas A&M close, big dog. That's a comparing game. Okay, what's your point? Transitive property does not apply in football, sir. If that's the case, then Alabama should not have the last championship they have. It should belong to Georgia because Georgia beat Auburn and Auburn beat Alabama. So that means Georgia beats Alabama. So that means we should have a national championship. But that actually didn't happen that way because when Georgia played Alabama for the national championship, Alabama won, thereby proving the transitive property doesn't work. If the Dogs win, Soul Brother, you're probably right. It'll probably be something like 24-21 or 24-17. It's going to be a close game. 19-13. I disagree with that entirely, Saf, because Rodrigo Blankenship, if you don't know who that guy is, go look him up. He just won the Scholar Player of the Year. He is the #1 point scorer at UGA in all-time history. This guy is an incredible kicker. He's Mr. Automatic. He can kick from damn near 60 yards. So, do you think that you're going to go all game without UGA even scoring one touchdown? Considering you guys' defense is not the best on the planet, it's ranked like 27th or 8th or something, and Georgia's not going to get in field goal range? You're crazy. Dwayne says, can't wait for the SEC championship game. No pressure on Bama fans this season. Hey, what's going on, David Green? I hate CBS so bad. I hate Gary Danielson, man. That guy could lose his voice tomorrow for the rest of his life, and I would be fine with it. I would send him notepads so he could write letters to people. Typical Gamer, what's going on, buddy? Clock management is going to be key. We need to keep the ball away from Joe Burrow and limit his success. We don't want to try and get into a shootout. We want to drag the ball, drag our feet. I think if we played the Buckeyes tomorrow, I don't think there's anybody this year that's really going to be able to beat the Buckeyes. And Jimmy, are you calling me a delusional Georgia fan? Jimmy Watkins, you are showing your lack of intelligence, sir. You seem to think that the number one defense in the country, and we've played ranked teams, the number one defense in the country is either going to give up at least 6 touchdowns and a field goal, or like 5 touchdowns and like 3-4 field goals. No, sir, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. All you got to do is keep Blankenship out of field goal range. Well, let's see. That means you'd basically have to stop every pass for more than 10 or 15 yards. Have I watched LSU? Yes, sir. I have watched LSU. I've watched LSU. I watched Texas score 38 points on you. I watched Vanderbilt score 38 points on you. I watched Florida score 28 points on you. I watched Alabama hang 41 on you. I watched Ole Miss score 37. I watched Ole Miss put like 700 yards on you guys. So you're going to sit there and say that you guys have a good defense? You're crazy. You're crazy. You haven't played a top 25 offense. We are number 2. If you go back, so let's talk about offense and defenses. Let's talk about that since you want to talk about that, Jimmy. Georgia's pass defense is suspect. Yeah, sure it is. That's why it's number 2 in the country. Go back and look. Georgia scored what on them? No, wait. Yeah, they scored 38 points. Go back and look at every national championship game all the way back to 1998, because I can't do 99 because we haven't played a 2019. We haven't played a 2019 game. So to go back 20 years, I have to go back to 1998. If you do that, there's only about 5 or 6 games where the losing team scored more than 20 points. Now think about that. Now there were teams that scored 40 and 50 points and 60 points and whatnot. That happened. But the losing teams, and with the exception of 5 or 6 games, the losing team, the vast majority of the time, the losing team scored 20 points or less. You don't think that those guys weren't playing against the best defense in the country versus one of the best offenses in the country? Because the offense doesn't limit scoring. The offense is almost irrelevant. If UGA's defense keeps you out of the end zone, all Georgia's got to do is kick a field goal one time. And how many teams have you guys shut out this year? Oh, yeah, none. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Let me ask you another question here. Let me open this up. Do you know how many teams, what's going on, Camel Shark? Do you know how many teams Georgia has shut out this year? I'm just curious. This may surprise you. Maybe you haven't watched Georgia. But Georgia has shut out Missouri, University of Kentucky, Arkansas State. Yeah, that's 3 shutouts right there. Nearly shut out Georgia Tech. We muffed a punt. How many losses do we have? You can't win, big dog. You explain to me how your losses help you beat Georgia, or you explain to me how your wins help you beat Georgia. Because what I'm talking about is I'm talking about wins versus losses. I mean, you're talking about wins versus losses. I'm talking about defense and points versus offense and scoring. Yeah, Florida hung 28 on you. Salty Dog is also correct. Mizzou's defense and Kentucky's defense is ranked higher. And yeah, we hung 27 points on Missouri's defense, and they're ranked higher than you. We scored 21 points on Kentucky. They're ranked higher than you. We nearly shut out Georgia Tech. We muffed a punt on like the 10-yard line, and they scored. And we nearly shut out Vanderbilt. They kicked 2 field goals. So explain to me, sir, how this defense is just going to magically fall apart. In case you don't know it, sir, allow me to elaborate on some of the talent level at UGA. There are 24 5-star players in all of the SEC East, and 22 of them are on the roster at Georgia. Bro, you don't have any wide receivers. I doubt our defense struggles with y'all at all. Maybe that's because we don't need wide receivers to beat teams. We allow our defense to keep you off the field, and then we just do what we do, which is go down the field and score. If Georgia can score Here, let me do this for you. We may have what you call a terrible offense. We have a running back with 1,200 yards rushing. Our next running back has almost 500. Stats don't win games, you're right. But to sit here and say that a team doesn't have an offense is a little bit silly. It's a little bit silly. So how many points per game do you think that how many points per game do you think Georgia averages? Georgia averages almost 33 points a game. How many points do we allow a game? On average we score 33 points a game. That's our game average. How many points do we allow per game? We average about 12 points a game. That's what we allow the opponent to score is 12 points. 10, yeah, it's 10, but you round everything up, it's the way they got it figured out is like 12, but 10, whatever. What does LSU allow? How many points does LSU allow per game? We just went a 5-game stretch scoring less than 30. Your point? LSU is allowing an average of 23 points a game, and UGA is allowing 10. We'll just say 23 and 11. You allow twice as many points as we do. So if you allow UGA to score, and this is what the average team is doing 23. I fully believe UGA could probably score more than that. Now, see, there is a reasonable statement made by Justin. Justin says LSU will max out at 28 to 31 points, in my opinion. Max. And that's reasonable. I could understand how somebody could say that and possibly justify it. But to say they're going to score in the 40s, no, that's not going to happen, sir. It's not even going to get close. I still can't believe y'all let Vanderbilt score 38 points. They scored 6 on Georgia. We held Texas A&M to 7. We're playing better defense. No, sir, you're really not. Texas A&M just gave up on the season. They had a bad game. Once UGA sucked their soul right out of their body, they didn't want to play football anymore. They had nothing to play for. They already had a bowl game. Why would they go out in there and get injured? It's ridiculous. Jimmy Watkins is on that good, y'all. Sitting on boat race, Georgia. You're out of your mind, sir. Talking about Georgia needing to outscore LSU. That's not going to happen. Georgia's offense isn't designed to be a shootout. Their whole game plan is to ground the ball on the ground. Defense wins championships, man. He's like, I can't believe we're undefeated either. Coach O's done a great job over there getting that program turned around, man. You can't hold that against him, man. We'll look mediocre against Texas A&M. Maybe so. But I mean, you can't sit there and say whether that just because you played one team better or you played one team worse, it doesn't matter, dude. It'll be settled on Saturday. But here's the thing: if I get on here and I say UGA is going to play good, solid football, we may win, we may lose, but I don't see either team blowing either team out. So let me put it to you in this perspective. Since you're not going to listen anyway, I'll just that way when we actually do win, I can rub it in a little better. There's been no time this season that UGA's defense has failed them. The offense has failed us. They failed us against South Carolina because the offense is the ones that committed the turnovers, not the defense. The pick six was solely based off of Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm doesn't throw that pick six, UGA is undefeated. So, and then our points per game goes even further down. You know, one bad pass screws up a whole season. So, if you go back and you say, Georgia's defense has not been exposed by anybody. But I can show you that LSU's offense has been exposed by not just Mississippi State, but also Auburn. You only scored 36 points against Mississippi State? Really? Really? They shut you guys' run game down. Like, dudes had a 45-yard game, a 50-yard game, a 53-yard game. I mean, LSU offense is the number one offense in FBS history. Sit down, sir. You're going to hurt yourself. You have no idea what you're talking about. I can't even believe you said that, man. So you mean to tell me, sir, you mean to tell me that you think LSU's offense is better than Ohio State's? Is that what you're telling me? I'm waiting. I'm waiting on you to confirm that. Because the moment you say yes, you're gonna disappear. Okay. Oh my goodness. You guys are losing it, dude. Ohio State has more points per game. They have more than 100 yards more rushing per game. And they only have 26 less yards of total offense. Oh my goodness, dude. Oh my goodness. They have fewer penalties than you guys. You guys want to throw these stats out there. You better go pull up a stat board because you guys don't know what you're talking about. Ohio State's offense is by far better and their defense is by far better. That's why nobody wants to play Ohio State, but Georgia's not scared of playing you. Look at who they played. They played ranked teams, man. What are you talking about? You just continue to embarrass yourself. Ohio State and Clemson are the most complete teams in the country. I would agree. Clemson struggled a little bit early on, but they look really good here. The LSU athletic department sent trolls here. I'm a joke. Okay. I'm a joke for looking at a stat board that was created by the NCAA. And go look at, you can look it up too. It's at ncaa.com and look it up. I don't care what that they're ranked, their defense is ranked number 4. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not a team if there's no team right now in college football that if you put a stat line on Ohio State versus whomever, that Ohio State is not a favorite by at least 20 points. What was there one game where they were favored by like 52 points or something ridiculous? Cincinnati, Wisconsin, and Minnesota are not comparable. Okay. Okay. Chase leads in touchdowns and yards. Same for Burrow, and Clyde is possibly doing better than Swift. That may be the case, but here's the thing. which team has the better offense, not which players. The team, the whole team. That would be Ohio State. They have more points. More points means better offense. Nobody has more points than Ohio State. Camel Shark says, what if Georgia, Utah, and Oklahoma lose? Do you think Baylor could be number 4 if they beat Illinois again? I certainly think that's a possibility. Baylor has absolutely shown that they can play. All right, Jimmy, I'm going to tell you right now, my guys will ban you from the channel for spamming. They will ban you. I'm letting you know. The mods will do it. Utah does have a good defense, but I mean, I think the best offense they played is like ranked like number 50. But yeah. Well, guys, it's starting to get a little bit late here. I got some other things I wanted to do. I plan on only being on for an hour. I've been on for quite a while. So, Dwayne, I didn't see Bearded Dog on tonight, but I'll reach out to him the next time I see him on or something and kind of let him know. I put something in the I put something in one of the chat comment sections. Hopefully he saw it and hasn't done anything since. But yeah, I can't control what he does on other channels. I'm not his dad, but you know, if he does it on mine, I can say something. But if LSU or Georgia played Ohio State schedule, both would be undefeated. I don't know. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys getting in here and trolling along with me. It's always fun to get in here and throw it back and forth. Just don't take it too salty. It's all good and fun and games. I don't want the biggest thing is that I don't want any players to get hurt. I hate when players get hurt in football games. These guys are trying to make a career out of this. They're doing it for, they're trying to make money, but it's for our enjoyment. I want to see everybody have a good and safe game. Everybody have fun. Dos Equis, drink responsibly or whatever it is. Make sure that you guys stay safe for the game. I'll be doing a hype and hate video. I'll do my halftime report, and I'm also going to do my end of game reaction. So I really appreciated. Yeah, I saw that, Sarah. I really appreciate you guys jumping on. You guys have a great night. And as always, hold on. God bless. Hold on. Hold it. Wait for it. I'm having to watch a stinking Cats the musical thing. That's about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You guys have a great night. God bless. Go Dogs.
Come and fly away with me. 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 Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die, so come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. We're rising, we're falling, we're making through. We're climbing, we're soaring, 1,000 views. Somewhere by the emerald sea, where the moon and water meet. Somewhere close to harmony, when the world is sound asleep. Something's gonna bring the change, journeys we are meant to take. Something at the edge of space, calling us to fly away. Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die, so come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. Something's gonna bring the change. Journeys we are meant to take. Something at the edge of space, calling us to fly.